any of these. For those of you on VIP, that's the little extra bonus I'll give you. All right. So bloggers are literally quitting in just massive droves. Why? It's burnout, man. You got to constantly I've got a newsletter on Substack, and it's a lot of work for me to keep that newsletter updated. If I've got a YouTube channel, and my guys are always blowing me up for more content on YouTube. It's hard. We only have so many opinions and so many thoughts. Generally speaking, we only know so many things. Pretty soon, your bag of tricks in a blog is used up. And that's the reason single person blogs went away, really, to speak of 5 years ago. And now they've switched to newsletters, and those I predict will go away pretty soon, or will slow down pretty soon as far as single person newsletters go. The newsletters that are really growing right now are the TLDR newsletters. They're almost a directory inside a newsletter. Or they're a group or a community like Brian Neff has that's really a directory, Brian Neff. What you have is a directory buried inside a social channel. So if you don't know who Brian Neff is, Brian Neff's one of our Ignite members that has hundreds of thousands, I know millions of views, hundreds of thousands of members for something called Key West Resorts, which is, while hosted on Facebook, a directory. One of my most successful guys ever, and he has a directory, right? People are quitting, right? But here's the great news. When that territory empties out and those bloggers stop blogging, guess what? A vacuum is created. A vacuum is created on the internet. And that vacuum is best served and best filled with a directory. It's structured, findable, reliable, and scalable. There's no better model right now, in my opinion, right? So what is a directory really? What is it? A directory is just a listing with a connection layer. So it's basically a database with a layer on top of it that makes it organized and easy to use. I'll give you an example of a great directory. I use a service, and it's a paid directory. By the way, all this stuff's been possible for a lot of years, but you used to have to hire a giant team to do all this stuff. Now you can do it in literally a weekend. And the guys are going to teach you how to do that and even give you the tools to do it. So you're going to be able to compete with these great big companies that spend hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in development in a matter of a few days. But we'll get to that in a minute. So I subscribe to something called Import Genius. And it takes all the data about who's shipping and importing and exporting what inside and out the United States, which, by the way, is free data. And we're going to talk a lot about data acquisition in a little bit. But it takes free data and sorts that data and makes it usable to people and charges, I think, $399 a month, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody else can go look at Import Genius and see if they've come down in pricing. But it basically, what it does is it's a directory of importers and exporters. And it charges $399 a month. There's another one that I know, another person I know of, that just keeps all the data on who's sponsoring what events and sells a directory of sponsors to people who are looking for sponsors for $299 a month. So some of these directories can have a paid level. We're generally talking about free open directories. I've got a lot of ways, $229 a month for Import Genius. They've come down. I think they used to be $399. They're probably feeling the heat. But anyway, still, $229 for publicly available information that's just been sorted and organized. That's all the hell that is, for $229 a month. But for a guy like me who needs to know who's importing what, it's totally worth it. Yeah, there you go, $229, $449, or $2,000 a month. $2,000 a month. Is that bizarro land or what? So that's all you're doing, is taking a database of information and putting an interface layer on the top of it. And now with AI, what we're able to do is take that raw information and enhance it a great deal. We're able to append it and enhance it, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So you just got to stop thinking about it as the yellow pages. It's not just the yellow pages. Thin listings, in fact, I'll tell you, the one thing that'll get you killed in the directory business, and we'll talk about this a great deal as we go through, is something called thin directories. That means you're just taking yellow pages and you're sticking it in another format and calling it a directory without adding any additional information to it. What people want to know with a directory is you take a raw piece of data and you append it. So let me give you an example. So we have a site, I don't want to say which one it is, but because you guys all, I love to show you guys a bunch of our stuff, and I'll show you a few things. But as soon as I show you something, you guys are like, we're all going to do that one, and everybody piles into the same niche. And I don't want that for you or for me, because number one, I'm going to beat you snotless. Two, you're going to be in a trough competing with me. You don't want to do that. But anyway, we did one with dogs. So we took all the breeds of dogs, right? So like 1,400 breeds of dogs. This includes the Matilla dogs. This is the snickerdoodly dog and all the different, hybrids of what we used to call mutts, but now they all have names. So, if you take a Cocker Spaniel and made it with a poodle, that used to be a mutt. Now it's a cockapoo, right? So you did any way to get another $3,000 from you, right? So we took the list of dogs, pulled them in, and then in columns, we asked the top 20 questions that anybody would ask about a new dog. Is it hyperallergenic? How much room does it need? All those things. 20 questions. The AI goes out and answers all 20 questions about all 1,400 breeds, ran all night long, and the total bill to do that with AI was about $30. And now we have this giant database, this giant robust database of every dog in the world. And now you just have to map that to a site. So if you responded to one of the ads to get on the workshop, you saw become the Zillow of your niche, right? If you look at Zillow, it's just a series of data put into a particular place. In fact, let's go over real quick. I wasn't really going to vary out too much, but let's go over real quick to Zillow. Can everybody see my screen? And
yes, we're seeing it very.
A big black screen right now, right? These monitors are killing me. I don't know how this works. Okay, here we go. Pay no attention to the Pornhub tabs. Okay. Which by the way, does anybody want to guess what Pornhub is?
No, Bob, I'm not.
It's a directory. It's a directory of all these other porn video producers. I know I'm probably the only one that's ever been on it. I know y'all good Christian people haven't been there before, but but look here, I'm going to show you something real quick. So when you go to look at a house at Zillow, so it pulls in these photos right here. This data all comes from a data source called the MLS, right? And then the Zestimate is just AI taking the general information and saying, because of this comparison to this neighborhood, this is probably worth about this much. It divides it by square feet, which all can be done with an AI formula. It goes out and searches the HOA and finds out what the dues are, right? It gets this data from the MLS. This data comes to the MLS, and the type of home it is comes to the MLS. But what's cool is you can see what's special about it. It pulls out and summarizes right here everything that's special about that house. And then down here, guess what? Guess what that map is? That's another data source. It pulls in a map from Google Maps, right? It talks about travel times. Let me see what else we got here. It goes back and finds the history of the listing of this property. When was the last time that it sold? That all comes from county and city databases that are pulled in. How much is the taxes? Again, comes from the city database. The buyability it's using this to help you figure out if you can afford it or not with a calculation. And then look here, powered by Zillow Home Loans. Zillow's now in the home loan business with a partner. So if you use them to buy your house and get a mortgage through them, they're going to make $3,000 or $4,000 off this listing. It even breaks down all the information, pre-qualifies you, down payment assistance. It's going to show you an overhead of your neighborhood, again, from Google. It pulls a walkability score from another database. It pulls school data from another database. It pulls nearby listings from the MLS. It shows you who the realtors are that are paying to be on that page, by the way, right? So all these areas of data, this is just a database that's been mapped in to look good on a page, right? Does everybody understand that now? Was that helpful to really explain what this thing really is? Let me see if I can get back to where I was now. This is going to be the trick. See if I'm good enough to do that. My guess is probably not. Yeah, that's what I thought. Forgive me, guys. I'm terrible with this stuff. I have to go all the way back through this item. I'm pretty bad. This is really sad that I show you guys how bad I am at this stuff. Okay, that's the reason I don't go away. All right. Okay, so was that helpful for you guys to really understand what we're building? Right? I hope that was helpful to you. Here we are. So, okay, cool. So does anybody have any questions, thoughts, comments, feelings, emotions yet? You can put them in the chat. $3,000 to $5,000 per lead converted. That's crazy. Yeah, they're charging a percentage of sales now for real estate agents, 40%. Aaron must be in the business. They're charging 40% of the sales commissions now if you use their stuff. So data is the goal, but the great part is data is freaking everywhere. We're going to show you guys how to get tons of free data and paid data, and paid data is really cheap. So by adding in, here's the secret though, to becoming the Zillow of something. If they just took the MLS data and just stuck that into Zillow and that's all they did, that would be considered thin content by Google, not terribly useful. It's all the stuff they added to it that enriched, they call it data enrichment, that enriched that data, right? So yeah, we can't think about like the yellow pages. This is living content. It's constantly changing in many cases. Some cases not, but mostly it's constantly changing, right? It needs to be searchable. This is incredibly important to any directory, that it be searchable. There has to be advanced filtering. There has to be real data relationships, and you do that with connective databases that we show you. There has to be scalability and automation and consistency and trust. That's what this is all about, right? They're built different. We're building directories very different than we're building blogs, right? There's a lot of moats. We're going to talk about the moats soon, Eric. I'm glad you brought it up. So a blogger can write one article that ranks for one thing. A directory, in one night, when you get your data cleaned up and together, you can push a switch. I talked to Julius the other day, and we built a property that had 9,000 listings. 9,000 listings, and this is for it's a farmers market directory, and with 9,000 farmers markets nationwide. Once the data was cleaned up, the website was built in 11 minutes. 11 minutes to build 9,000 listings, right? One blog post can only do one thing. 10,000 listings can rank for 10,000 things. And the great thing is, you're ranking for all these little obscure, weird things with a directory that no matter how great you do with a blog, you'll never, ever, ever be able to accomplish the Bigfoot blueprint. Does everybody get it now? The Bigfoot blueprint. You're putting your foot down and you're saying, here's my 10,000 pages, 50,000 pages, 1,000 pages, 100,000 pages that are dropping in. And it doesn't matter if you're 8 to 80, blind, cripple, or crazy, it is irrelevant. This is not something where it's based on your personality, your age, your ability, any of those things, right? Does that make sense? Isn't that crazy? All right. So 1 versus 10,000. So everybody say 10,000 in the chat right now. Everybody put in 10,000 in the chat right now. I want you guys to know that. This is you all by yourself over on a hill, all right? With one voice, one position, one thing you can be talking about, or it's 10,000 tiny voices out on the web. And the great news is all those 10,000 tiny sources that are getting real human eyeballs to them, you get to direct that traffic any freaking where you want. It's like having a table with 10,000 legs on it. It can't hardly be knocked down. Is everybody kind of getting this? Is everybody getting it? Why 10,000? No, you don't have to have 10,000. I know people with directories with 800 listings that are making a full-grown living out of it. One of my old buddies, Stacy Kellums, used to own something called Real Estate Course Reviews. He just reviewed courses. It was a directory and made over $40,000 a month from this directory of reviewing real estate courses. That crazy, stupid an idea can make that much money, right? Do you get the slides? Michael, what the hell are you going to do with them? Yes, you get the slides. But everybody asks that question. We get the slides. Yes, you always get the slides, but it's always one of those questions like, what the heck are you going to do with them? You know, I'd rather you take action on what you're learning here than worry about to get the slides. But I definitely want to get you the slides, Michael. You will get them. They go out at the end of every day. Okay, so here are the big principles of the book Bigfoot Blueprint or of directories as a whole, right? So principle number 1 is flood the zone, right? More content, more platforms, more touch points, more opportunities. Here's what's interesting about YouTube. Here's what's interesting about Google, My Places, and Yelp, and all their directories. But they also take inbound information into their directories, and they send outbound information from them back out. So a lot of times you can RSS in their reviews to make your properties richer right away. You can embed YouTube videos, which, by the way, would anybody like to guess what kind of a website YouTube is? Anybody want to guess? It's a directory. It's a directory of videos. That's what it is. And putting across this, the other thing about this is so amazing with directories is they're absolutely international. So you're not talking only because it's facts, figures, and data, generally speaking, versus dialogue. It translates extremely well. So when you build a directory, and I'm sure that Russell has this built in his software, and I know we have it built in our plugin, it's going to be easily translatable to every country in the world, all 10,000. Imagine this. Now you get 10,000 pages. You got a blog that's got 50 blog articles on it written in English for the American audience. With a Bigfoot site, you got 10,000 or so listings, let's say, that's written for every nation on earth, right? So your reach is ridiculously big. And it drills down to the needles. This is the big one. This is the big one, right? You're not going to compete with Yelp or OpenTable for restaurant reviews. Although OpenTable, by the way, takes reservation costs. Every time somebody books on OpenTable, I don't know how much it is. Does anybody know how much OpenTable charges per reservation or for their subscription? I'm guessing it's $10 to $15 a reservation would be my wild guess. Nothing? How do they make money? They got to make money somehow. They got to have sponsored listings. I don't know. I've not really dug into OpenTable's model. I'm not talking about what they charge you. I'm talking about what they charge the restaurants. I'm guessing they charge the restaurants. Yeah, they may charge the restaurant. Of course, they charge the restaurants. They're not going to charge the individual. Yeah. Yeah, subscription costs. Does anybody know how much it is? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Who said yeah? $1 per person.
It was $1 a person, and they would charge the restaurant. I forgot. I think it was like $600 a year. It used to be, plus $1 per reservation. That was about 15 years ago. I'm sure it's gone up since then.
It usually ticks up. So once they get everybody on the teat, so I'll tell you a story. This is how dumb people are, customers are, right? Okay, there you go. 300 to 150 to $300 a month. So I have a limo driver named Rami. If you're watching Rami, I'm sorry to tell this story. I call him Rami, the depressed limo driver. So he was Ryan Dice and I's limo driver for years. He drives us to the airport. I haven't used him in a little while because I live in a different part of town now. But Rami used to be the guy that would drive us to the airport. So anytime Ryan and I had to go anywhere, we lived very close to each other. We traveled a lot together. Rami would come pick us up. And it was almost a joke that Rami would say, we'd ask Rami, how you doing, Rami? 6 o'clock in the morning, he's picking us up to go to the airport. How you doing? Oh, Mr. Perry, things are really bad. Things are really bad. Things are really bad. He was always depressed. Something was always wrong. So one morning I'm like, we'd always listen to the stories. It was almost just entertainment to us. The poor guy, he was like the Rodney Dangerfield of limo drivers. And so one morning he says, man, yeah, how's you doing, Rami? How things? And he said, oh man, Mr. Perry, things are really bad. I said, what's wrong, Rami? He said, well, I was getting all these leads from this website called limos.com, which is, by the way, anybody? Come on.
Directory.
There you go. It's a directory of limousine companies. He said, I was getting these leads from limos.com and they were charging me $1 a lead. And they suddenly raised to $10 a lead. So I had to drop them. And so now I don't have any, I don't have hardly any rides anymore. I said, well, Rami, how many calls were you getting from them? Well, I would get 4 or 5 calls a day for $1 a piece. And I said, well, how many of those turned into customers? And Rami, well, not all of them. Well, I understand not all of them, but how many? Maybe 2 or 3. Okay. And how much do you charge for your service? He said, well, we're $75 an hour with a 3-hour minimum. I said, so $225 a job. Yeah. But he said, most people go longer. I said, so what's the average ticket? About $300 to $400. I said, okay, Rami. He says, $300 to $400. How much of that do you make? He said, well, after I pay the driver, I don't make all of it. I got to pay the gas and the driver and whatever. So I make about maybe $200. I said, but so now the leads cost you $10, right? And you make $200. Yeah. But you cancel the lead service. Yeah. Why? Because they upped their price 10 times on me. I'm not going to pay that. And I tried for 30 minutes on the way to the airport to explain why it was stupid not to buy those leads, and he just couldn't get it, right? But the point is, most businesses today don't know how to deliver leads to their own business. They don't have any idea. They don't have any idea. So if you can help them to deliver leads to their business through your directory, winner, winner, chicken dinner, right? Winner, winner, chicken dinner, because they don't have any choice. But I'm going to talk a little bit about things to avoid, like the big King Kongs to avoid in the space. You don't need to fight with them. There's no reason for it. You're much better off to work in your own niche markets. Okay, so I'm going to go back to, do I need to share again, Russell? Or can you do it automatically?
If you'll share again, that'll be awesome.
Awesome, cool. Gosh, every time I do that, there we go. Okay, so we good there? Okay, so yeah, so here's the thing. You don't have to compete with, you don't have to compete with Yelp for restaurants, but you can have a directory of gluten-free restaurants where Pearson can find a gluten-free restaurant in Austin, Texas with an events room, for instance. You know, there are directories right now. There's one called Liquid Space that just lets people list extra space they have in their buildings or their restaurants or whatever where you can have events. It's a directory, kills it, right? The needles are where you're going to get, you know, you're going to, let's say you get 10,000 pages out there. Some of those pages will only get one visitor a week. Some of those pages only get one visitor a day. Some of those pages will get more, but in aggregate, the traffic is enormous. It's enormous. And it's not just picked up by SEO, it's hugely picked up by AEO. These are citations, and we're going to talk about that in a second. Data. The data is everywhere, right? The smaller the signal, the smarter the move, right? If you can pull data in and organize data that's not previously been organized for people, you win. Whether it's taxidermy data or it's snow skiing data. Like a buddy of mine right now, I'm trying to think of the name of it. Oh gosh, what is the name of it? It's he sent me a thing over to help him with it not long ago. He ranks all the snow conditions on all the mountains in Colorado for the skiers. AEO is answer engine optimization. It means being picked up by ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. So any kind of an event data like that works. It's AEO friendly. That's number 5. You want to make sure the data is AEO friendly. Clear questions, clear answers, be concise, use structured data. And the longer your directory is alive, the more authority it has and the more that it, get this part, grows all by itself. And then lastly, you're able to provide something called citations. So right now, if you're in the SEO space, if anybody knows what a citation is, just put citation in the, not the ticket you get on the highway, but anybody knows what a citation is when it comes to marketing, put it in the chat. Yeah, so citations are huge. So for local businesses, Google has a new model. So in order to rank local businesses and even national businesses now, it's not based on, and AI does this too. It's not based on backlinks. AI doesn't have any way to track backlinks like Google does. So guess what AI counts on? Citations. How many times has your business talked about on authoritative properties? So when you launch a directory, everyone in your industry is going to want to be listed on your directory just so they can get a citation. So instead of having customers, you having to go out and find customers are finding you. And of those people who come in and want to be listed with citations, some of them are going to want to have a paid listing they can control and add to. Some of them are going to want a featured listing in their town or in their niche. Are you guys starting to feel it? You starting to get it? I hope so. I hope so. He feels it down in his special place, Ron says. Yeah. All right, cool. So these are the big principles of Bigfoot. These are the big principles of Bigfoot. So this is a great example. So there's a company called Nomad List, I think it's called, but I'll talk about this guy in particular in a few minutes. He ranks about 1,000 pages for cities of where nomads can go and live and connect with other digital nomads. This is his whole business. About 1,000 cities, and he talks it in each one. It's a directory of cities, but a directory of cities as it pertains to NAMBLA. Chad Drew, you're a perv. I love you. So you can not just, there's already directories of cities, a lot of them. But when you think about how niche you can get, Nomad does a directory of cities, but it does a directory of cities as it pertains to digital nomads. You could have a directory of cities as it pertains to gay, lesbian activity in that city. You could have a directory of cities for, and this is the big one, for walkability, for bicyclists, for
There you
tell me about this city as it pertains to a hiker. Tell me about this city as it pertains to job opportunities, right? So there's just as it pertains, photo opportunities, photography opportunities. Where can you go take great pictures and so, right? There's so many of these, right? There's so many of these that people are looking for these very specific needs. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. We're going to talk a lot about API in a minute, but like there's a really great directory right now. I forget what the name of it is. Somebody can find it, but it's a directory of neighborhoods and cities as it pertains to the quality of the school zone, right? Does anybody know the name of that? I can't think of it right now. Where it keeps up with, I think it's like good schools or something like great schools. Yeah, great schools. So here's what's really interesting. So great schools is a directory of public school information. Do you think public school data is free and available? The answer is yes. They just pulled it all in and made it accessible and readable. But here's what's crazy. Guess what they do in addition to having people visit their web properties for this? They license that data back out. So sites like Zillow license great schools data and pull it into Zillow to use as one of their data fields. So here's what's going to happen with a lot of you guys and cats and kittens here. And this is part of Perry's evil, maniacal scheme is a lot of you guys are going to develop data and directories that the rest of you can share data and cross promote with. Do you get it? Crisscross applesauce. There we go. Crisscross applesauce, says Bobby. I like crisscross applesauce. I got to remember that one. That's not me. But this is an opportunity for you guys. Do you guys dig it? Yeah, dude. Quality of water, EWG.org. I don't know what that is, but I can tell you right now, my buddy Qasim Islam is looking to buy land right now, and he's studying water quality and air quality, environmental quality, cities by environmental quality. There's so many cities that are best for singles, cities that are the best for kids, cities that are the most dog friendly, hotels that are dog friendly, right? Can you see where you make money from that? But this is just the great, only 1,000 pages in this directory, by the way. Only 1,000 pages. But the biggest sites in the world are using this exact methodology. Amazon is just a directory of products. Google is a directory of websites. Facebook is a directory literally of faces. That's what it is. You guys starting to get this? You starting to get it? Right? Enter any website right now into the chat that you've used in the last week. Enter 3 websites in the chat you've used in the last week. And right now, I can tell you, there's a good chance that at least 2 of those 3 websites is a directory. In almost every case, somebody's using one. Airbnb, CarMax, Lyft, Zillow. All directories. Lyft is a directory of drivers. LoopNet is a directory of commercial property. Are you guys getting it? Right now in the chat, if you think you're in the right place, just type right place in the chat. If you think you're in the right place right now at the right time. I mean, there's never been a better opportunity for something brand new and exciting than right now. And I don't know of anyone else right now who's talking about this, and for good reason. I'll tell you why. Because until we figured out how to simplify it, it's really, really, really freaking hard. It was really hard to build these things. It cost millions of dollars to build them, hundreds of thousands of dollars to build them. Until a year ago, we just went on this amazing mission with Russ and with Julius on our team primarily of figuring this out, because we had to figure it out for our own businesses. So we figured while we're figuring it out, we'll tell you about it. And I mentioned about, 8 months, 9 months ago, I said, hey, I'm doing this thing about building giant megasites, directory megasites. We're going to do a workshop on that in a couple of months. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, let's do it. And all of our members, our Ignite members, over 1,000 of them. And they can be pretty pushy, you know, and they keep coming back to, where's that megasite thing? Where's that megasite thing? Where's that megasite thing? And we just couldn't teach it because we could do it ourselves with our development teams, but we couldn't figure out how to do it in a way that we could show you guys how to do it easily, simply, and quickly until now. So Brian Neff, yeah, this is going to be probably better for you than anybody that I know of on the whole call right now. We be pushy, no doubt. Okay, so okay, and there are hidden giants out there, and I won't go through this too much more. I think I've made my point, but I mean, almost every primary property that you're working on is a directory. In fact, I ask ChatGPT, and you can too, or whatever your favorite tool is, out of the top 100 websites in the world, how many are actually directories? And the answer was about 60. So 6/10 of the top 100 websites in the world are directories, right? Instagram is a directory of pictures, right? All of these things are directories. You'll understand that as you move along. And some are disguised better than others, like TripAdvisor is a directory. Glassdoor, you know, the thing that tells you if you should work for a company or not, where everybody says Perry's a prick and you shouldn't work for him, it's a directory. Right? And they're a really smart directory because they found a place where people love to gripe and complain. So anywhere that people are willing to gripe and complain makes a great directory because that creates something called UCG or UGC or user generated content. Or like G2, it just ranks software programs. It ranks software tools. So that's exactly what they are. Structured databases where reviews, listings, and products happen. And it's really very hard for somebody to copy one. Once you've planted your foot and you develop reputation there, it's very hard for somebody to copy you because over time, it just keeps building and growing out of your control in some cases. Right? So one of the clearest examples of this is Craigslist. Nobody knows this except people who live in Silicon Valley, but it's pretty amazing. No one makes more money per employee online than Craigslist. They only have 50 employees. They have no ad budget. They use old ass Perl code from like 100 years ago. The ugliest website in the world's never been touched for design, right? Pretty doesn't pay. People want data. They want structured data, right? It out-earns the prettiest blog site you've ever seen by a lot, right? How much is, somebody Google Craig Newmark's net worth right now. I'm curious of what it is from the ugliest directory on the internet. I don't know what it is. I'd just be guessing if I looked. Somebody will put it in the chat if you don't mind. So, but the Giants understand this, right? So do you want to play like the Giants or do you want, the Drudge Report. Drudge Report writes no articles. Yeah, he's worth $1.3 billion. It's not too bad for a directory. The Drudge Report writes no content. They're just a directory of content. It was so brilliant of Drudge to come up with that. Isn't that crazy? You don't have to write content. You're better off to become a directory of content. And this is one of the big things. When you're hearing everybody right now talk about faceless YouTube or faceless whatever, faceless is very attractive because some of us don't want to be on camera. Some of us don't want to. I don't mind being on camera because I'm a big mouth, but I don't want to take the time. I don't have the time. I'm running 9 freaking businesses over here. I don't have the time to sit down and be Alex Hormozi and do 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours of content every single day. Which tells me, by the way, if somebody's doing 4 hours worth of content a day, do they really know what the fuck they're talking about? Pardon my French. Or are they just making a lot of content? You know, because they're the loudest in the room, they get a lot of attention. But is it that good? And one could say, by the way, and I'm not faulting Alex because I know Alex and I think he's a very smart guy. But if you look at everything Alex teaches and everything that like Russell Brunson teaches, and for that matter, what I teach, in a lot of cases, what makes me a little bit different, I'm usually doing something new and different. But Those guys, Alex is going back and he's a human directory of everyone else's marketing strategies. I mean, he really is. So that he's taken everybody else's data, rebranded his own, and created sort of it's kind of a Dan Kennedy repeat, frankly. Dan's a pretty original thinker. I give Dan better credibility than he's a curator, right? There's a good way to say it. He's a curator. Most directories online, if you take the top 50 to 100 directories online, I bet you can't name the owners of 3 of them. They don't care, right? Well, everybody else is burning their stuff out, trying to get likes on Facebook or views on YouTube or, TikTok Reels or any of that shit. People are sitting around running directories quietly from a laptop from anywhere in the world that they want to be. I just bought a lake house right on the lake in Hot Springs Village, Arkansas. And there's nothing I love more than waking up in the morning, flip open the laptop, and sit there and watch the fish flop and move around, and the fishermen go by trolling in their boats that wave, and I'll ask them if they're catching anything. That's fun to me. That's where I like to work, right? I like that way more than I like this. And I like this pretty well, really like that. And these directories can be ran from absolutely anywhere. So this guy, Peter Levels, this is the guy that did this is the Dutch guy that did the Nomad. It's called Nomad List. You can go check it out. So Nomad List in 2024 made $5.3 million, up from $704,000 a year before. Now he's had the property, probably 4 years old. So that means in its third year, right? In its third year, it made $704,000. In its fourth year, made $5.3 million. Right? And he's a one-man company, but he had to figure all this stuff out. And AI wasn't very advanced 4 years ago when he started. So he had to do a lot of this with coding and much more difficult stuff. Today, you could reproduce his whole property in a weekend. It really wouldn't be very hard to do it all, right? But you can't beat him. He's already got the footprint now. He's known for that. You're probably not going to beat him. You're going to need to carve out your own niche, right? But remember that. It took him 4 years. Don't you remember that number? 4 years to do this. And I'm telling you right now, you could have been blogging for 4 years and be sitting with Butkus, right? You could work a remote job and make Butkus. I'm telling you right now, it doesn't take anybody on this call 4 years to do this. If you're dedicated, you could really bang it out in a long weekend. If you're really, really dedicated and somewhat technically savvy, worst case scenario, 4 to 6 weeks, and you're launched right, in really the right way. And it's different. When you're building a blog, you're basically building a notebook on the internet where you have to come back and write to that notebook all the time or it becomes stale and boring. When you're building a directory, you're building an asset, right? Somebody asked Brian F., how long did it take to grow your keys page? And Brian will show you, Brian could testify to this, I'm sure. I know you talked to me about it with his daughter. It took him several years to build up the Florida Keys page, but he knew so much for the second one. When his daughter went and did the second property like his for Key West Bars, she was able to achieve a much higher level of success in 4 months, right? What did it take you, Brian, your daughter took 4 months. Would it take you a year or 2 years, roughly, Brian?
2 years, 9 months.
2 years, 9 months, took his daughter 4 months. That's a difference in knowing what the hell you're doing, right? That's the difference in knowing what the hell you're doing. And they just can't hardly be killed. I mean, it's your asset. You own the SEO. You get planted in the SEO and the AI engines. You own the audience, right? You have their email. By the way, building email addresses is really easy in these things. People are actually coming to you asking to be listed, giving you their data. You own all the upside and you own the long game, because the longer that your directory is around, Every time somebody writes a new review, every time a new business lists because they want to get SEO ranking and everybody tells them to go get citations. Well, guess what? You're a citation now once you build your directory, right? Algorithmic changes don't matter to you a lot. Platforms shutdowns don't matter to you a lot. AI is going to eat this stuff up. Search engines are going to eat it up. And whatever comes in the future is going to eat it up because it has to. The data has to come from somewhere. You're feeding the beast, right? You're feeding the beast. So, okay. So let's talk about the moats, right? Let's talk about the moats and why, you know, what is a moat? Great question. You guys ask those questions, by the way, if you don't understand. A moat is just what it sounds like. It's like a moat around a castle. See it on the bottom left there, the water around the castle. It's to keep the intruders out. So I was not too long ago, I was reading an article from the most successful incubator in the world, which is Y Combinator. And they said this year what they're looking for is someone who solves a new problem, has a defensible moat. In other words, there has to be at least one moat around what they're doing. And there's a networking effect that as the thing is used, it becomes more useful to everybody, right? They just described a directory. They really did. It solves a problem for a small market who's trying to make a decision. People hate making decisions. That's the reason they depend on AI so much. They hate making decisions because decisions, we all have something called decision fatigue. We don't like making decisions. We might say we do, but we really don't. And so people want to just go to directory and find who's recommended, or they want to go to AI and ask who's recommended, which gets all that data from directories, like Reddit, for instance, which is also a directory, right? So there have to be moats. A moat is just something that keeps competition out, right? You do something and this protects it from being taken over by someone else, right? So moat number one of the 5 moats is the flywheel. This is the whole ball game. It's the loop that compounds, right? You get more listings because people want to be listed, right? You have more reasons for the business to list. The more businesses that are listed, the more businesses want to list, right? The more businesses that list, the more listings that get created, the more customers that you get, which makes more people want to be listed. It's just really that simple. If you think about it with Yelp or even Google My Business, which is actually a directory. Google My Business is a directory, not a search engine. So all the businesses are all listed in there. If you go look up a business, it's in Google My Business, but it's a generalist directory. In other words, it's listing every business. Great, but not so great, because it only gives you a certain limited amount of specialized knowledge about that business. It's going to tell you where it's at, what time they're open, maybe, if it's accurate. It's going to give you an address and a phone number, and that's it, right? Your directory can dive deeper. It can answer 20 really great questions. And yes, a great domain can be a great moat, by the way, somebody asked. But the moat, the biggest moat is the flywheel. See, over time, people start off blogging like, oh, wow, man. And then eventually they slow down because they get tired, which makes it easier and easier to overtake or beat any blog. So over time, it's really easy for another blog to come along and beat your blog. It's pretty easy to do. The difference is a directory gets harder and harder to beat over time. So it's the difference between a blog is like owning a job and a directory is like owning an asset. That's the big differences. Big moat number 2, right? The blogger's killing themselves, right? Write, publish, promote, repeat, always on the treadmill, always, right? Until they just quit one day. And they oftentimes do just quit. But directories get user-generated content. Businesses will fill out their own listings, right? And join your email list, by the way, for free. Okay? Very specific people that you want to reach. Users will leave reviews, good, bad, or indifferent about that business. You don't care. You could care less if it's the worst review in the world or the best review in the world. It's totally irrelevant to you. You just care that they say something, right? The industry feeds databases to you, tons of them. Press releases that come out every single day for industries are a way of, new product releases that come out via press release, or companies that provide data feeds, or government that provides over 20,000 free data feeds from the federal government. And then you got all the state government, city government, municipality, schools, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You name it. While you're asleep, your property is growing. You get it? Data feeds. There's data feeds ? So most businesses, the government, and other entities provide these things called data feeds, or RSS feeds, or API feeds. In other words, there's a lot of data out there that people put out, right? For all kinds of reasons. Most of it's free, some of it's paid. You can pay for certain private data, but there's a lot of free data out there, right? But that data comes in a form of something called CSV files, or CVS. I think it's CSV files. And those files are just gobs of words in cells. But we're able to take AI and sort that data and put it into a usable form that creates a website that makes that data sortable, usable, and useful to people. And therefore, we're helping AI to do its job better by providing it clean, concise, up-to-date data. Does everybody understand that? Does anybody still not get the whole concept as a rule? If you would, type "I get it" in the chat if you understand what I'm talking about so far. All right. All right. I think most people are getting it. Is anybody just lost as an Easter egg? Because I can ask for Angie or Russell or someone to chat with you on the side. Yeah, lots of competition going to show up after this presentation. Yeah, Dimitri, but here's the beautiful part. Lots of competition could have shown up before this training. Yeah, are we kind of shooting ourselves in the foot? Yeah, because we're going to teach you and give you the tools to go build these things without spending a lot of money, without a lot of trouble. If you don't have the tools that we've developed to do this, it's going to be very difficult for people to do it. And I'm not telling you that because I'm going to sell you the tools later. I'm not. I'm giving you the tools. Absolutely free, right here. You gave me $100 or $200 or whatever you guys paid to be here. It's practically nothing. And I'm going to give you something really, really, really valuable without anything held back, right? You get all of it. But I'm telling you right now, if I gave this presentation tomorrow and didn't give people the tools to do it, and didn't have Russell and Julius showing you guys how to, you'd be like us. It took my team. My team's smart, man. These people have been around doing this for a really long time. And it took us a year to figure out how to do this. It took us a year. Right? So good luck if somebody wants to take this and just go out on their own. Comprehensiveness. This is a big thing. So comprehensiveness is authority. The more if Zillow only had houses in some of the cities in Virginia and some of the cities in Texas and some of the cities in North Carolina, it wouldn't be a very useful property. If Yelp only had some of the restaurants, if Google My Business only had some of the businesses, right? It wouldn't work. It has to be comprehensive, right? The new blog may never earn authority. There's a really good chance right now that if you started a new blog tomorrow and you're the best writer in the whole wide world, you may never, ever, ever. I am muted, somebody says. Is that true?
No, you're good.
We hear you fine, Perry.
Okay. Okay. So, but a completed directory. Now, right? There's a complete directory becomes a de facto authority almost overnight because there's really no other competition, right? Google and AI are hungry for structured data. They're not hungry for Mary Lou's opinion on something. They could give a shit about opinions. AI wants facts, figures, complete, well-structured, up-to-date, cover the whole niche, easy to cite, trust. That's what they want. Your directory is the most quotable object on the web for what you do, right? For that niche that you serve, it's incredibly specific. And I can tell you right now, there are tens of thousands, if not maybe hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of directory projects and communities that are largely unserved. Largely unserved. I can think right now, you could do a directory of daycare centers for Section 8 that accept Section 8. Or you could do a directory of private physicians that only take cash pay. Or you could do a directory of kosher delis. Right? I mean, there's so many of these little niche things that people are looking for. And do you think that, let me ask you this question. Do you think that when somebody goes to Google or when somebody goes to OpenAI and says, hey, where are the best Jewish delis in New York? Do you think they're going to trust Google's general maps to answer that question? Or do you think they're going to trust jewishdelis.com, the directory of all the Jewish delis in all of America? They're going to trust the most authoritative property. And how do you become the most authoritative property? Comprehensiveness and signal versus noise. You've probably heard me talk about that a lot. Signal versus noise. When you're the directory of everything, you become practically the directory of nothing. It's just like being the expert of everything. You become the expert of nothing, right? But if you've got the most comprehensive, like Brian Neff's already proven it with the Key West Resorts. Had he been awesomeresorts.com, he'd have Dick All for an audience right now. He's super specific to Key West. And you know how he chose Key West? Because he likes going there to drink beer, right? So it's a great idea to pick something that you really like, something that you enjoy, something you can be passionate about. It'll be easier for you. This is the corner of the web that nobody wants to touch, right? But when you are providing a directory that's drilling down to what people really, really, really need and not just general thin data, you become the authoritative roofing directory or the authoritative dental directory or the authoritative plumbing directory versus being a jumbo pack, being part of every possible industry. Do you follow? Moat number 5, and this is a big one. Auto maintenance. Once you built the directory properly, it's being fed new data from your data feeds all the time. These are automatic. They go off all the time. A lot of them go off every minute, every hour, every day. You're going to be able to scrape data, new data, as new things happen or change in your industry. And then you've got user-generated content of new people coming in that want to be listed on your directory because they want traffic, right? And then you've got the people that are reviewing those businesses that want their opinions heard. So if you go on vacation for a month, your income doesn't stop. Everything keeps churning. Like me right now, I'm in a bit of a trap, to be honest with you. I deal with, a couple thousand people that depend on me, you guys, that are, and thank you, by the way, my Ignite members, my Driven members, my Velocity members, thank you. I depend on you for a living, right? I have to give you back. I'm always trying to give you back 10 times what you pay me, because that's my policy. But I have to show up for you guys on a pretty regular basis, right? You don't really understand moat number 4, somebody said. Yeah. Local. Moat number 4 is local. So the moat number 4, so if you didn't understand it, somebody said they didn't understand moat number 4. This really applies well to local. As you get down into the nitty gritty of finding those little bitty places, somebody says, this is basically the near me search, right? This is the near me search. Vegan restaurants near me. Gluten-free restaurants near me. Pet-friendly hotels near me. Plumbers that don't, plumbers would be a not a very good one, but really weird niche little markets like rolfers or acupuncturists or ear coners or, what do they call a doula? Is that what what's it called? The people that help you have babies. I can't remember what they're called. Some people want to have babies at home.
Doula.
A doula, a midwife. Nobody's going to look for a midwife and choose one based on who's in the stack at Google My Business. They're not going to do it. They're going to go to some authoritative property that they feel more strongly about that has reviews from other people who have used that doula or that midwife, right? This one I'm trying to get to you. That's what that was about. But number 5, number 5's moat is auto maintenance. These things grow on their own. They build on their own. Generally speaking, they don't break. There's nothing to fix or repair. And you're not in there. If you don't post in this thing yourself, you can have a blog in here. You can have a newsletter, and we'll talk about all that too. But if you don't post for a month or 2 months or 3 months or 4 months or 6 months, it's probably not going to matter to how well the property continues to grow if it's set up properly. Does everybody understand that? Udemy is absolutely a directory. Udemy is a directory of online courses, 100%. Are you starting to understand now how almost everything you interact with on the web that's big is a directory? Almost everything that you do, almost everything you interact with is a directory. Pretty crazy, says Sean. Absolutely it is. A directory of directories would be a great idea, Chadrick. Okay. So here's what I want you to do right now. Just write down I'm going to go back through those real quick. So the 5 moats is the flywheel, right? It all happens in a flywheel. One thing leads to the other, right? You get more listings, giving more businesses reasons to list, creating more listings and more comments that create more visitors and more comments that create more listings. That's the flywheel. That's moat number 1. Moat number 2 is other people are building all your content for you, so you don't have to do the content yourself, because now you are the Google. You are the Yelp. Yelp doesn't have to create content. Google doesn't create content. Angie's List doesn't create content. All of it's done by the people. The third moat is comprehensiveness, making sure you're the most comprehensive authority, answering those 20 top questions, those 20 hard to answer questions everybody's trying to find, all in one place. Number 4 is drilling down the local to drive people into local businesses. And number 5 is auto maintenance. So which one of those, and you can put it in the chat if you want, you write it down on a piece of paper, which one of those hits you the most? Which one of those do you find the most appealing? I'm curious. Auto maintenance, UCG, auto maintenance. Other people make the content local, UCG, flywheel, local. Awesome. So you guys are getting it, I think. I think you're really getting it, don't you? I really do think you're getting it. Awesome. Okay, great. Super. So now let's talk about the 4 families. All right. So there are 4 big families or types of directories. Okay. 4 big types of directories. So the ones that are often crowded are people. Facebook's got a pretty good bead on the directory of people. Right? They do. That's what they are. A lot of places, Yelp has a pretty good beat on that. Things, Amazon has a pretty good beat on that. But organizations are wide open. A directory of associations, nonprofits, schools, clubs. These are some of the things people are looking right now for a lot to do. They're looking for things to do. They're looking for activities. They're looking for a place to belong. Right now, it's pretty funny because of COVID, because of AI, because we're working from home all the time. By the way, I don't know if you guys know this or not, little side note, birth rates are at an all-time low in the United States. Marriage rates are at an all-time low in the United States. People in committed relationships, especially men, are at an all-time low in the United States. Guess what all that correlates with? Anybody want to guess what that correlates with? Anybody want to guess? COVID, somebody says, kinda, but not really. Loneliness. Suicides is another correlation. Suicides are way up. The economy, depression, those things are, the economy's down, depression's up. Things to do, loneliness. There you go. Somebody hit it. Lisa Miller. Working from home. So as soon as working from home became the standard, all those things, you look at the correlation, they're right there. Right? They're right there. We stopped interacting so much with humans. So now people are actually wanting to join associations. They're wanting to go to nonprofits. They're wanting to go back to school. They're wanting to be in clubs. They're wanting to interact again, so much so that the snuggling business for $75 an hour in New York and Los Angeles right now is a business. $25 to get somebody to go with you on a walk. $25 an hour for somebody to go walk with you. People are that freaking lonely. The psychic lines are blowing up right now. Old ass psychic, I just want somebody to talk to. Discord's killing it right now. $100 bar crawl with Brian. Well, that's a good time. I'll do that. Right? So, each one of these has huge reach, huge impact, and endless opportunity. But if you're gonna compete with one of the beasts, like restaurants, you're gonna have to choose, like, a food allergy based restaurant directory would be awesome. Because like Emma's allergic to, I think Emma's on a call now. Emma's allergic to coconut. So wouldn't it be cool if you had a directory that listed places people could go eat that had coconut allergies or that had gluten intolerancy or whatever the case may be, right? Places, we talked about that earlier. Places that allow dogs or cats or chickens or snakes or whatever. You might have a directory of people that own reptiles that want to know where they can go live if they had a reptile, or if they have a large dog, where can they get an apartment? You see? Things, when you get into specialized equipment, things people are really passionate about, they want the best of the best of the best. They're not going to go buy the one at Walmart or the one at Amazon. They want to know what the best one is, and they want to read user-generated reviews on that, and they really want to get in the community of that, right? It's all available to you. The second family is time-bound stuff. This is a different kind of directory. These are events. So we're in the depth right now of recreating conventions.com. So I've owned conventions.com for a long time, and we're a convention planning business. That business is being scrapped completely. We're still going to be in the convention planning business, but we're building the largest directory of conventions in the world on conventions.com. Somebody asked earlier, is a good domain a plus? Yeah, it really is. It really helps. But conferences, product drops, anything that has a deadline, concerts. What is StubHub? Anybody want to guess what StubHub is? It's a directory of people who have tickets to events, right? That's all it is. It's a directory of concerts. And then people go in there and buy and sell tickets. They're a vampire. You're right. They suck. They're terrible. Eventbrite is a directory of events, right? Anything that has a time-sensitive window to it. Also, in this time-bound framework, Family 2, are opportunities, jobs. There are a couple of these already, but you could specialize. is RFPs. So most people don't know what that means. That means a request for proposal. So there are a number of directories that list all the government contracts for federal government where you can go in and see all the requests for proposals, sam.gov. But here's the thing. Who's doing that for cities? Who's doing it for states? Who's doing it for small municipalities? Right? A directory of grants that close, they have a time window. Right? Jobs, jobs, grants, RFPs, all these things, these opportunities that come along, it could be contracts. What do you think Flippa is? Flippa is a directory, right? And then deals in money, right? A directory of who's got the best mortgage rate right now, who's got the best insurance quote right now, who has the, dude, why pay retail or Retail Me Not? I think it's called Retail Me Not. Huge company here in Austin, Texas, that's a directory of coupons. That's what they do. They're a directory of digital coupons. Monster business, huge business. Expiry drives return visitors. So as long as you've always got new data coming in and new things coming in that expire, you're going to always have fresh content. You're always going to have fresh visitors because they're going to come back multiple times to see if somebody likes country music concerts and you have the directory of, if you have, for instance, I don't think that there's a directory of live music in Austin, Texas, which is crazy. There should be. Somebody should have a directory of live music. It used to be done by the little newspapers that came out, the little local newspapers that came out. But you need one, right? Retail Me Not got acquired by Capital One. Somebody look up how much Retail Me Not sold to Capital One for. I'm just curious. Try to find it. Bring a Trailer is another one. It's just a directory of people trying to sell a car, right? I think everybody's starting to have the light bulb go off, right? Can somebody type light bulb if you're getting it? Because I feel like I'm beating a dead horse a little bit, but I want to drive this point home because you really need to know it. Yeah, I think people are getting it, right? I think people are getting it. Next are intangibles and digital. This is probably the biggest opportunity ever. My friend Matt Wolf has Future Tools. So he was really smart to create a directory of AI tools early on. That thing has made him a boatload of money. He makes money from his YouTube channel, but he makes really a lot of money from Future Tools. It's just a directory of software, apps, platforms, templates, calculators. Etsy is a directory. Pinterest is a directory, right? Calculators, automations, AI tools. These things come out. There's something like, I read not long ago, there's something like 5,000 new software tools being launched every single day right now. Right? My ADHD is so happy right now. Is that funny? Says April. Right. 420 million they paid for Retail Me Not. Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah. That's not too bad.
J2 Global 420 on 2020.
Isn't that crazy? Somebody paid $420 million for a directory of coupons. How hard do you think that really was to build? Not very. Right. Media and creative works, movies, books, music, photos, videos, art. IMDb, huge traffic. Goodreads. Nobody talks about Goodreads. Talk about Amazon. Goodreads is a directory of books. It's just directory of books where people go on and talk about books. Most people that are deep readers trust Goodreads way more than they trust the reviews on Amazon because they're not as rigged, right? It's organic and it's authoritative. You couldn't knock that thing out if you tried. And I think that Amazon bought Goodreads a few years back. I don't know what they paid for it. So are you starting to see a trend here? Are you starting to see a trend? People are buying these things. We're doing one right now called the Congressional Report. It's pretty cool. So it's a directory of how all of our politicians vote. So we can score them based on their conservative level or their liberal levels. Pretty interesting thing. People want to know that stuff. I don't know why. Doesn't matter. They're all crooked. And then knowledge and reference. So like the biggest directory of knowledge in the world is Wikipedia. But you've got people building directories of data sources, directories of data feeds. There's one called Appify. We're going to talk about that a lot. You're going to learn about Appify a lot. It's where we get a lot of our data. Glossaries, a directory of how-to guides like Udemy, a directory of definitions like Urban Dictionary. If anybody's ever been to Urban Dictionary, it's pretty fun, right? Amazon paid $150 million for Goodreads in 2013. Did you hear that? Amazon paid $150 million for Goodreads in 2013. Let that sink in for a minute. That's like $200 billion in today's money post-Trump. I'm just kidding. All right. Yeah, and when you're looking at travel sites like hotels and Expedia, believe it or not, like American Express, if you book through American Express Travel, I found out the hard way, you actually are booking through Expedia. They license Expedia data, pull it in, and you're booking through Expedia, not through American Express, because they didn't want to build it themselves. They just want to partner. And then family number 4 is connection. And I think this is going to be one of the biggest ones ever for you guys. This is dating or a co-founder or B2B. Like, how can I get connected? LinkedIn is a directory of business people, right? But there's some properties right now in Silicon Valley that are pairing up technical founders with marketing founders, trying to create matches. Dating's been around a long time, but you can take a dating app and do a lot with it. One of the ones that we did years ago matches veterans up with other veterans that's not romantically, but it matches veterans up with other veterans who served on the same ships together in the same company platoons together and all that stuff, where they can go back and find each other and reconnect again, right? Craigslist does a lot of this, but it's kind of become old and tired now. But they do it for jobs, for housing, for services, stuff for sale. Anything for sale can be put on a directory. Any way you bring people together, this is a giant opportunity right now, especially in the conditions that we're in socially. Because we're in really lousy social conditions, guys. I mean, we're in really bad social conditions. Really, really bad, right? So here's the unlock, right? This is the big unlock. What if you combine them? So back years ago, I worked with the guys, I worked with a lot of people that were working with Kindle books. And one of the things that we found out was, yeah, so like Victoria, what if you had a directory of home car detailing providers nationwide? You found all those people. They're all dying for work, right? But it could be for a particular location. But if you combined up back then in the Kindle book space, we found that if you had a cookbook, you could sell a lot of cookbooks. Cookbooks were selling really well back then. But also books on camping and survivalism were selling really well. So if we did cookbooks that were survival cookbooks or camping cookbooks, and we took two genres and we mashed them together, we didn't sell twice as much. We sold 4 or 5 times as much. Or dash. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. Yeah. I like that. That's a great name, by the way. I really do like the name. Only Emma, right? All right. So you should retire.
That wasn't me. That was Jason. I just repeated it. Jason gets all the credit for that. It was a great name.
It's a fantastic name. So, yeah. So if you've got events combined with places, you win. People combined with opportunities, a talent marketplace. Tools combined with use cases, like the best AI tools for podcasters, right? Or knowledge combined with a niche. Every sourdough technique ranked, right? You're ranking all these things. Restaurants is a war, but gluten-free restaurants with private dining rooms in Austin, Texas is a fucking layup. You can't miss, right? Are you going to pull 100,000 people a day for that? No, that's not your point. Your point is you're going to pull that little bitty bit of that for every city potentially in the world. Not the United States, the world. Every cross carves out a more specific, less competitive, higher converting slice. Everybody getting it? In the world. This is global, guys. It's the reason it's worth so much money. It's global. So I want you to think about this for a minute. I said 60 seconds, but I'm going to skip by this to a different screen. But I want you to really think about this sentence at the bottom. I'm going to build a directory of blank for blank. Now, I know some of you right now are going, I don't have any ideas right now. I'm really going to have to think about this. So here's what we're going to do. There's a QR code there. Can somebody test that and make sure that QR code's working correctly? Just make sure and just let me know that that's working correctly.
Works great, Perry. Perry's master
Okay.
list of directory ideas.
Yeah. So there's 1,191. This is my own list that I've been building for myself. Okay. 1,191 directory ideas. Right. I've been building this thing for like 6 months because I'm gonna need Emma. I'm gonna need you to knock out at least 1,100 of these by Monday. I'm kidding. But I build these big lists. So then I score them. Okay. So there's a scoring key at the top. Can somebody drop the link in? Somebody says they can't use a QR code. Please, thank you. I'm sure that somebody dropped the link in. I can't see, but okay, there you go. Yeah. So 1,191 in there. The scoring key is important. Okay, the scoring key is really important. So the fire ones are the ones that are in the highest demand. The diamond ones are the ones that have the least amount of competition, right? And the 3-star ones are the ones that are in high demand and have low competition, easy to attack. Does that make sense to you guys? How we doing? I'm going to take a couple of questions here for 2 or 3 minutes, and then I want to take a 20-minute break and let you guys just in the short term, just think about, we'll come back and we'll chat about this for a minute, about some niches you think that might work. And I'm glad to do some live talking about that. Maybe tell you guys how I might tweak that or whatever. And we'll do that live. Let's do, so for now, it is exactly just 2 minutes till 3. So let's call it 3 o'clock. And we're going to come back at 3:20. Which is really bad because that's 4:20 Russell Smith time. So hopefully he'll come back somewhat sane. Okay. So can you guys, again, for the rest of you guys that are stoners, I'll see y'all tomorrow, I guess. Yeah. But let's take let's leave this slide up so anybody can scan it that wants to. And can we do a little overlay over that, Russell, that just shows people that we'll be back in 20 minutes? Can we do a little countdown timer that runs over the top of that or something?
Okay, let me grab that real quick.
Can you do that?
We can get that going, Perry, no problem.
Yeah, and we'll come back at 3:20. And in the interim, you can have questions, thoughts, feelings, emotions to this point so far. So far, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you think we're doing? How do you liking this so far? What do you think? Do you feel like you're getting like a new lease on life? I think this for me has been such a big thing. I'll be honest, guys. I've been going back beating some dead horses. I'll be frank with you. And Emma knows I'm telling the truth. I've been beating some dead horses. And I know Emma gets tired of me saying, well, we used to do this and we used to do that. And what we used to do, it just ain't always working anymore. You know, it just ain't always working anymore. And the world is changing around us. If we don't adapt, we're totally screwed, right? We're totally screwed. So I want you guys to adapt. I want you guys to open your eyes to a new model. And I think you're going to love this. So we used to be young and great looking. Somebody said young. I was never young and great looking. I was always I was young, but still wasn't great looking. But everything has a shelf life. Right, you're right. Everything has a shelf life. So go through the list take the next 20 minutes and look through there as much you can, and you'll see that's broken up into the 4 main families, and that should be fun. And I'll be back in 20 minutes with you guys, and we'll go from there. Okay?
Start.
Mute yourself, Barry. Mute yourself, please.
Russell, you want to play the song?
Okay, let's see. You got a song there. Actually, can you try to play that? I don't want to. Well, we can do it here. I think so. Let's see. Bigfoot Blueprint song. All right.
Hey Trisha, I was looking at the list here. Which one is the most important on this list he has with the diamond?
Who's that? Who's asking?
This is Manuel.
Okay, we can.
I have a question because I think I was. You said the list he has 3 stars, a fire,
Yes.
and a diamond. Which is the most high in demand?
If you look at the very top of that list, you'll
Okay,
see
let
the
me-
legend that he has. One
Okay,
that
okay,
says
okay. I
the
did.
fire
I did.
equals high demand. The diamond is low competition. 3
Okay,
stars.
I got it.
High demand. Yeah, cool.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I didn't get to see that because I copied it too. Okay,
No
I
problem.
got it. Thank
Was
you.
that was
Salamat.
Laura Betterly
Salamat.
trying to ask a question as well before we play this song? I don't want to mute anybody out or whatever. Or is she just up for the next when Perry gets back? All right, I'm gonna just go ahead and push play. Trisha, here's the unveiling of the.
I got a bowl full of moss, coffee stains and schemes, boots by the sawdust, head full of big dreams. I'm out in the weeds, baby, where the wise folks don't roam, looking for a trail to haul the money home. Follow the tracks now, tread where the rest won't go. I see a hand in the grass, I smell a deal in the road.
Trisha. I kind of love it. Put it in the comments if you like the AI version of Bigfoot Blueprint. Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah.
Cool. Very cool.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and mute myself and take a little break to get some water. We'll be back.
Hey, Russell, I'm texting you.
Have those ready.